For years, Ben Hamilton-Byrne ran a bizarre cult known as the Family. But this was no ordinary family. Children stolen at birth, brainwashed, beaten, even given mind-altering drugs like LSD. The list of abuses at her isolated retreat outside Melbourne goes on.
So I'm here to tell you the story of life, as we used to call it, behind the wire. I was one of the blonde-haired kids that grew up in one of Australia's most notorious cults called the Family, and it's also been called the Great White Brotherhood. My name now is Ben Shenton. I was originally growing up called Benjamin Saul Hamilton-Byrne. We grew up in an environment here where fear, honestly, was one of the constant things that we lived with. Being in a house where there's domestic violence, I'm sure there's people here who I grew up with some of that stuff. That's what we were hearing, that's what we were seeing. And very often against us as well, where the aunts would lose the plot and just lay into us. You didn't know what was happening, when it was happening, or often why it was happening. It wasn't 100% beltings. But who knows, if you've grown up in a home where those things are going, it casts a pretty large shadow over the rest of your life, doesn't it? Right. It tends to remove the joy, and it has a real effect on who you are as a person. Eventually, we got pulled out of this cult. The police descended, as we said, upon us all, and we were removed August the 14th, 1987. Because we'd never seen the outside world, we were secluded. All right? So when you grow up in an environment, you expect that's normality. When I came out and hit high school, the social stuff was the problem. That was the problem. I was nicknamed Psycho. I had some major issues. I didn't know how to fit in with people. We were looked after in this St. John's, which I think was an Anglican home for boys and girls. The next door, there was a St. Martin's, where there was a guy there, a youth worker, who was a judo karate instructor. And our cottage parents organised for me to go along and just get toughened up a bit, just so I could stop the bullying that was happening at school. I was struggling to fit in. Tragically, it opened a door to some pretty bad stuff. That's one of the problems when we've become a victim growing up. We can stay a victim and get hurt again. So I eventually asked for a foster mother. As a ward of the state, I was put in contact here with a woman who was a born-again Christian. So I joined this youth group. Came to a place where I'm in the Blackburn Baptist pastor's office, the youth pastor's office, praying. My eyes are shut, I'm totally awake, but I have a vision being played in front of my eyes. I'm watching a conveyor belt go over. Nothing's coming off it, it's stuck to it. And who knows, when we've grown up and been abused and gone through things, we carry some baggage, don't we? And how do we get set free of that? We have no idea. It's with us. It's who we are. It's, as I'm trying to remove it, it's tearing up the conveyor belt. It defines you. Next thing, I'm standing on the edge of this cliff, and I know I have to jump. I've got to trust God to help get me out of the situation I'm in, and I'm struggling to do this. Every time I try and do it, it ended up turning into a hill and I'm running down it. And eventually I come to this place where I say, you know what, I just have to trust you, God. And Jesus Christ catches me and picks me up, puts my head against his chest as I'm sitting on his knee. I'm a child. Puts my head against his chest and said to me, I never meant it to be. I'm telling you, the power that still has in my life, that would be over 25 years ago that happened. That still undoes me. That God looked down out of heaven, not just when I was in the Blackburn Baptist office, but when I was going through this as a young boy, and saw me in my pain. And I would say to you tonight, there's a God who sees you, who would take you, pick you up, and say, I never meant it to be.